Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are so excited to have you with us this afternoon. My name is Amy Julian, and I'm the director for the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. We are here today to have a conversation with you around adult education recruitment. And this series, it's a three-part series. If you were with us on Tuesday, we have a whole different set of presenters, yet at the same time, we have the same question. So we're hearing the same information, but from different points of view as we move through the week and into next week. This series is brought to you by the Adult Education Advisory Committee, and of that committee, there is an ad hoc committee on recruitment and onboarding. And so those individuals got together and put together this series for you and invited these fantastic presenters for you today. Today, we are going to hear from Arlene Santos George, who is from College of Lake County. We're hearing from Marilyn Murchison from Literacy Chicago, and we're hearing from Sharmila. I should have asked you how to focus on your first name, Sharmila. KCAC.
Yeah.
And she is from Illinois Eastern Community Colleges. So with that, similar to Tuesday, we're going to walk through the series of questions, but I want to go through a couple housekeeping items before we get started. All of you who are our attendees, we're very excited to have you here, and you are currently in listen-only mode. However, that does not mean that you are not able to engage with us. There's a question box there right under your attendee panel, and so we invite you to post questions in the question box, and we'll be able to read those for you and address those questions and have a fun dialogue. However, if you want to speak to our presenters today, feel free to raise your hand. If you are feeling comfortable and confident in your microphone, raise your hand and we'll be able to unmute you so you can have a conversation with them as well. So with that, just wanted to let you know that this is being recorded and will be available on the recruitment page of ICSPS as a link, and then you can link that to anywhere you want to. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So our slide deck really reflects the question. So the first question we have for our panel today is, how have your marketing strategies changed as a result of the pandemic? And we're going to go in alphabetical order by first name to start off with. So Arlene, you're first.
All right. Well, I have so much to share, so I'm just going to try to see if I can condense this, right? But the most important pivoting that we did was, we have our traditional way of marketing. And even with those traditional way of marketing, which tends to be mostly not online or not digital, we still have to make improvements or innovative ways on how we can, do traditional marketing. So I'll give you an example. So in the past, we would just have flyers and we will distribute them in several areas of the Lake County communities, and we know where our student populations go get their groceries, we know where they hang out, we know where they go for barbershop. So we really strategically just put those flyers where we think our students are. But one of the things that we added in the flyers are the QR codes. I don't know if people are familiar with QR codes, but the QR code, which is now on the printed flyer, the student can easily just scan that QR code, and when they scan that QR code, it actually brings them to the adult education student interest form on our website. And so that student interest form is monitored by our staff. And so, we follow up with those students because they put in their contact information. So that's one innovation for just a traditional way of marketing. The postcards are also, mailing postcards are also a traditional way. But what we did with that was we actually were very targeted when it comes to where do we mail these postcards. So we would use the census tract information and the corresponding postal routes so that we know that this will really hit our targeted student population. So those are the census tracts that have, a high proportion of the population that speaks English, that speaks a language other than English, and also those census tracts that have a higher proportion of the population that has less than a high school diploma. But more importantly, the other thing that we did with postcards, another innovative way, was we actually just looked at, for the fall semester, and you know what happened in the fall semester, of course. That was the first time that adult education had a downturn in its enrollment. But we said, well, let's see which communities did the students come from. So meaning, if we know that this community has a higher percentage of our student population enrolled, that's where we targeted, that's where we targeted the postcards. And then another traditional marketing tool is, of course, using text messages, emails, and phone calls. But what we did with the text messages was we actually changed the software or the application that we use for text messaging. So this time our text messaging, which is called Signal Vine, it's really interactive. It's not just a one-way way to communicate with students. The students can actually communicate with us. And then when we sent out the text blast to the students, we say, okay, here's what's happening for spring 2021, but we only targeted the text blast to students who had a valid test score, and we know that they will register for classes. So what we also did was, when we did that text blast, we said that if you register, you will be entered into a raffle for a gift card. So that's our way of incentivizing students in our text messages to register. So there's many more that I can say in terms of like the traditional marketing, but we also now targeted social media. So that was really completely new for us in the last year. So what we did was we have Google search ads, Google, sorry, we had social media. So in Facebook, in Instagram, and Twitter, but it was really very intentional. So for like Facebook, we actually ran ads that were targeting Latinx. For Instagram, we also ran ads for Latinx, but of a younger generation. Facebook was for an older generation. And then for Twitter, we actually targeted African Americans. And then we also had Google search that basically, if anybody is searching in Google for adult education or high school equivalency or anything like that, it's the College of Lake County that comes up the first in the search. So what happened with all of this social media, because even the Google ads, what happens is it basically lands the person, or it lands the person to our website, and in the website it actually lands on the interest form. So what we have seen with our social media campaign is that there was 151% increase in traffic over the prior year. And then month to month, we would see a 356 increase over the prior month. And then we know that 73% of the page views were a direct result of our advertising, and that 48% was the completion rate for the adult education interest form. And then the click-through rate for the search ads far exceeded industry standards. So that was really very, very comforting for us to know. So it did not really, all of this did not increase our enrollment, but what it did was it slowed down the decline. So instead of declining 50%, 60%, 70%, our decline was 40%. That was our target, is for as long as we can just hold on to a 40% decline, we think that that would help us. Now, for new things that we're going to be doing for the fall, we actually started having TV presence. So we had an interview with Univision 2 nights ago. So that's probably the first of some Univision presence that we would be doing. The next one will probably be highlighting students who were enrolled in adult education and then they were able to transition to college through the ICAPS program. So we're now exploring other, what we would call other media, but not necessarily social media. So like TV and radios and podcasts maybe. So that's our next step.
That is fantastic, Arlene. You've got a lot going on there. You kind of bled into our question too, but I think that's okay. Um, Marilyn, could you share with us how have your marketing strategies changed as a result of the pandemic? And again, Marilyn is from Literacy Chicago.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Literacy Chicago's marketing approach was quite unique. We've had quite a bit of help even before the pandemic, but we had new materials were created and forwarded to our community centers. That was very helpful. Our associate board had happy hours for the community advocates and for other interested parties, to learn about our services. Our subcommittee kind of handled our social media outreach. We had Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. We're part of the Illinois hotline. Various people was kind of helpful for us at this particular time in our marketing.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Marilyn. Sharmila, what did you have going on with marketing strategies as a result of the pandemic?
So, like everybody else, we shifted what we were doing. Generally, our approach had been to just let the community know that we had an adult ed program. So with the pandemic, and we realized, there was going to be attrition and we were going to lose students because everything that was going on, we decided to actually emphasize and reiterate our value proposition rather than just let people know that, yeah, we have an adult ed program at IECC. We were trying to get across, what is it about this program that's going to be helpful to an individual. So we really started targeting and focusing on the benefits of being a part of the program rather than just, throwing it out there that we had one. Our marketing became a lot more targeted, very intentional. We did a lot of the same things as Arlene was talking about. We added a QR code. We ran articles and information about how much more somebody can earn if they have a high school diploma versus if you don't, and what that, how that impacts you over your lifetime. The fact that, if somebody goes through and finishes their, goes through and gets their high school diploma, it has a generational effect. Maybe their kids get inspired because, as you guys probably know, that it's generational on the other end. There's families who the parents didn't finish high school, the kids don't finish high school, and it just sort of carries on generationally. So we were trying to turn the trend that way, kind of speaking really to the benefits of being in the program. Of course, we started advertising a lot more digitally, using our Facebook presence, doing, sending out spot ads, the things, just pushing more information out digitally. But I think the biggest change was what we started focusing on, letting the community know that, hey, not only is this is not just a free program we have, but it's a free program that can make a huge difference in your life. We sent out, targeted ads to like postcards. We used Signal Vine as well, and we sent out blasts letting people know when sign up was. And the other thing that we did was we really tried to address the concerns people had during COVID. So we tried to assuage people by saying that, hey, you're working from home now, or you're going, doing remote learning, but we have the tools and the resources to help you get there. If you don't have a computer, you're not comfortable, but with using a computer, we'll send you packets of information. We'll meet you where you're at. And that was the message we were sending out with our marketing. Of course, like I said, we did a lot of stuff online, digitally. We used Facebook, our webpage, text messages. We called students. We FaceTime students. We have our information out there and on all those platforms. So that's kind of how we approached it. Our goal too was we knew it's probably not a good time to grow your numbers, but we certainly were trying to keep our numbers from shrinking too far. So that was our goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to not move away from you, Sharmila. We're going to go reverse order this time. And can you speak to what effective strategies have you implemented to onboard or recruit students considering the ongoing mitigation related to the pandemic? And I think a little of you kind of merged these two together. So if you have, that's okay. And if you have anything to add, please do so.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we did was we decided that we need to be more flexible. Like any institution, you tend to do things the same way over and over again. But we decided that, hey, we need to be more responsive to what the students need. The way we run our classes, it's on a fixed entry basis, and we run a new session every 8 weeks. And some of you can probably relate to this, but there's that student who calls on the 3rd week and wants to start classes, but we can't generally let them in. So we say, hey, come back in 5 weeks, and they never do. So we decided that, we've got people who are wanting to come in, and we're going to let them come in. So we created a couple of classes that were open entry, and we were allowing them to come in, and it was online. They would come in, test, we put them in the class, give them the tools that they need to work on, and then at the end of that 8-week session, or whenever that 8-week session hit, we would transition them into a face-to-face class in the fall. That's what we did in the fall, because we did go back to face-to-face in the fall. We also started offering hybrid classes. All our classes were hybrid. So even if we had distribution attendance, people were able to continue to work. So we started doing things to really work for the student, rather than having the students kind of fit with our program. We were trying to work around what would be beneficial to the student. So those are some of the things that we did. I think that was a game changer for us, allowing people to come in. We picked up so many new students by doing that, because we engaged them when they were ready to be engaged and kept them in the program, and then allowed them to get into a face-to-face classroom when our session opened up. Let me see of course, the classes, like I said, were hybrid. And then we allowed students to register by mail. Normally, when we had registration, people would come on campus and register, but we allowed people to register by mail. And of course, like many other programs, we allowed people to come in without initially testing them, but we did, that was a touch point for us to test the student, explain what was going on in the program. So we did try really hard to bring students in to test them at the earliest possible point. But yeah, those were some of the things that we did that I think that truly helped us. That having that open enrollment was huge.
Fantastic. Marilyn, is there things you'd like to add to that?
Yes.
What effective strategies? Great.
Literacy Chicago, we went strictly remote. So we were like all in. All students were welcome to come in. We found a place for everyone. Everyone who applied and entered at Literacy Chicago were able to be helped. Our registration was online, which was very helpful. So our support person was able to get the information. Along with that, they were able to place students in the class. They were proctors, so therefore they were able to test the student in the beginning, which was great. So our support person was very helpful. So in our all-in, once the student is placed into the class, we do a each one reach one. So we ask students to kind of, bring someone with them through the word of mouth. Of course, the pandemic has been very bad for everyone. So a lot of students that are not used to technology or, being on a computer or telephones. A lot of students had to revise their phone equipment. A lot of students had pop-up phones or the little ones that were made that you close up, fold up telephones, and that had little or no technology. So they were able to advance and find a way to get updated phones so that they can attend some of these classes.
Fantastic.
Recruitment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Go
you.
ahead. No, you're.
Oh, so recruitment was kind of great coming through our website. We had various platforms for students to use, which was very helpful. So our retention kind of is holding on. We went up considerably this year, so we're thankful for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Marilyn. And Arlene, is there anything you'd like to add on what effective strategies have you implemented to onboard or recruit students considering the ongoing mitigation related to the pandemic? Again, just before Arlene gets started, if you have questions, go ahead and plug those in the question box because we'll be pausing for questions from our audience after we wrap up with this question. Arlene, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. I have explained everything about how marketing and recruitment has changed for us, but I also wanted to emphasize here what we have done for onboarding. So for onboarding, we said we have to meet the students where they are. So basically, we have to be flexible enough and understanding enough of every student's personal situation, right? So we made ourselves available in person and also virtually, and also by phone, by email, for every avenue of communication, whether in person or virtually, we were able to do that. So for onboarding, we were able to help students through a virtual drop-in assistance, wherein the student can have a one-on-one with our enrollment and testing center staff, and we have designated times. So Monday to Thursday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 4 to 8 p.m. So that really allowed students who don't want to come to the campus. They actually can they have a computer. They know these virtual drop-ins and the Zoom link because our flyers, our website, it indicates all the forms of communication that are available for students, a contact number for telephone, email, and also for the virtual drop-in. So that really has been very popular, with students. And then we held office every day from actually from 7:30 to up to 9:30. So students who want to come in, they can come in, but of course there's social distancing protocols that are being followed when we do that. And then part of the onboarding too is once the student is registered, we explain everything. Our enrollment and testing center staff, they explain everything to the student in terms of like, what do you need to be able to get into class the first day? So they need a computer, a laptop, they need Wi-Fi. They also need to have their emails, their CLC emails. And that has always been the biggest challenge for our students is, how do you create your own password, or if they have an student email in the past, they forgot their password and they have to reset their passwords. And our student population needs a lot of guidance when it comes to using that. And so our enrollment and testing center staff actually were able to help them one-on-one through that virtual assistance. And then the other thing that is also very important is knowing what the Zoom links are for the classes that our students will be taking, because 90, maybe 95, 98% of our classes were Zoom online last fall and this spring. And so what we did was we actually compiled all the Zoom links from our instructors, and then we inform the student what these Zoom links are. So that was part of onboarding that I thought was really very helpful for students. Our faculty also has a role in onboarding the students by using Remind. The Remind is an app on the phone, and it basically is a way for our faculty to communicate to the students, that welcome to my class, please log in to, Canvas. Canvas is our LMS. And so we actually also need to sit down with students on how to use Canvas. So our enrollment and testing center staff, to a certain extent, were helping them with that. But to a large extent, our faculty, once they're in class, are able to help the students on how to log into Canvas.
Fantastic. So now we're going to take a minute and pause for questions. So Brittany, are there any questions in our question box?
Yeah, we did have one come through regarding registration by mail and how successful that was, and if you found it to be effective for low literacy learners.
And so I believe that was directed to Sharmila, who had
Oh,
mentioned
okay,
that
I'm sorry.
mail-in registration.
Right. It was successful in that we did get a lot of them returned back to us, but you raise a good point that they were not necessarily fully filled, they were not signed, but it was a starting point. That gave us at least a phone number to call somebody back with. And then of course we would try to get them in or send it back to them and have them fill out the rest. But it was very cumbersome, and that's not our preferred method. But we did that because they couldn't get onto campus, and at that point in time, we did not have online registration for adult ed. So that was really our only way to get something back from the student with their signature signing up for class. So it worked. In a pinch, it worked, but that is not our preferred method of doing it.
Understandable. I do see a couple hands up. Kathy Olson Tracy, do you want us to unmute you? I see your hand up. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Just a fair warning. I like to warn people before I unmute them. So Kathy, you are now unmuted.
Thank you. I was trying to hit yes, 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 and unmute at the same time. I'm very impressed with the work that you guys have been putting into your recruitment and looking at a combination of both old school, kind of that mail-in recruitment, and new school with onboarding virtually and virtual registrations. I'm wondering, the two things I would like to kind of see or hear from you is what kind of institutional support are you getting with your marketing plans, if any? And then kind of where do you think, as you're moving forward, which some of these ideas are going to be fundamentally ingrained in your new strategies?
So I'll go for IECC. We have tremendous amount of support from our administration, for marketing and for everything else. They allow us, our marketing department buys spots on the radio, for print ad, and we share them. They give us access to it without charging any of it to adult ed. So if we need something, we need things moved around on the web page, we need something put on Facebook that draws attention, like we are in the middle of registration right now for our second 8 weeks. It's been all over Facebook. It's been on the website. We run radio ads. We use Signal Vine that the college pays for. So we have a tremendous amount of marketing support.
Yeah.
I'll pass on to somebody else now.
Yeah, for the College of Lake County, Kathy, our president and our marketing director and recruitment and everybody else is on board with us. Actually, if you think about it, adult education is sort of like a trailblazer. We're the ones who start something new, and everybody just wants to join in the bandwagon. So, but anyway, we work very closely with our public relations and marketing arm of the college. And they're the ones who really help us, especially with the social media presence and the Google ads and the Google search. And we also started, like I said, using like podcasts. It's our marketing department that actually is giving us, here's where you should be doing the podcast. They're able to transact with, I think, it depends on the student population that you would like to target. And for us African Americans, we're the declining student population group, and so they were able to provide us with suggestions for that. But yeah, they're very supportive. But our college president right now says we have to really focus on a strategy where we should meet the students where they are. And so one of the things that we will be doing is actually being more involved with community events, such that when they have virtual events, that we're actually also going to be there and going to be a presenter. So that's our next thing that we're going to be doing for the fall. In terms of like long term, definitely what will happen in adult education is a combination of traditional marketing and recruitment and the digital marketing and recruitment. And even within those two groups, there will always be continuous improvements. Like QR codes for me was like, oh my God, why aren't we using QR codes when everybody else is using them? So, but it will be both a combination of that, plus perhaps even what I would say as not social media, but your traditional media like television and radio. That needs to be something that has to continue, especially since, like you said, Illinois has seen a continuous drop in the last, I think, 5 or 7 years in adult education enrollment. So we need to continually advertise that we are here for, especially immigration is probably going to be changing in the next 4 years because of the administration.
Fantastic. Great answer. Do we have any other questions in the question box? And then Jamil, I see that your hand is up. Jamil, I'm going to unmute you. Are you? Oh, his hand just went down. So I'm going to say that he did not want his hand up. All right, any other questions, Brittany? Do we have anything else out there?
No, I don't have any at this time.
Okay, and it's okay to hit the hand raise button, but it does put you to the top of the list. So then when your hand goes down, you move quickly. So our next question for our panelists, and again, we'll go back to starting with Arlene on this one, is what did your students need to be ready for learning as we moved into the semester?
Well, we because of COVID-19, of course, we all have to pivot to online learning, remote learning, and of course, what it primarily means is that our students need the technology and also the digital capacity in terms of how they learn through, through digital means. So the first thing that we always ask our students when they register is, do you have the technology? Do you have laptops? Do you have Wi-Fi? And if they don't, we tell them, well, we will be able to provide you with that, but you have to, you have to come in to the campus so that you can pick it up. Well, first you have to make a reservation for the laptop and the hotspots, which they do. Unfortunately, we can't really provide laptops to everybody, so it really is on a first come first serve, and we're still trying to get more laptops and hotspots. They need the technology, and then they also need tutorials for like all the, like how to log into or how to use their email, or how to log into the CLC portal. They also need to know, well, how to use Canvas. How do they get to Canvas? So there's video tutorials that we're currently using, but it's in English. And so right now what we're doing is we're actually doing Spanish voiceover, And I know that Spanish is not the only language that our students have, because we also have Asians and students from the Middle East and also from Africa. So we're trying our best to maybe develop like a cheat sheet in different languages for for what the students need to be able to get to their classes and to be able to be in their classes. And then what else? They need to know what is their Zoom link, and they need to know their instructor. So, and they also need to know that it is a different way of learning now, and that perhaps this is funny. Sometimes it's not just the students who has to adapt, but also the faculty. So there's a lot of training that we're providing to faculty as well, so that they can be they can be instruments of learning for our students. But the students, like I said, we're actually preparing more videos. I think we're gonna be doing a new student orientation that will be online, because that is something that we wanted to continue, but we were not able to. So now we have to come up with a video for that as well.
Excellent. You have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Marilyn, would you like to tell us what did your students need to be ready for learning this semester?
Yes, basically Irene kind of covered it all, but I think that a commitment to reach their goal is something that a student should come in with. Of course, we, need them to have technology and equipment and everything, but the Zoom skills is very important. So once a week, what we do for half an hour is give us an orientation on what students need to learn before they enter the class. We also have access to a leading library for PC skills. So students that feel safe enough to go there, they're being trained under Literacy Chicago leadership as well. Of course, they all need to know their email address and password and how to use the platforms that instructors are teaching with. They need to meet their instructor, of course. So before class, daily, a lot of our instructors meet one-on-one with new students before the class starts daily. So yeah, students need to know quite a bit, but they, like I said, once again, I think they need to come in with a goal and need to try to reach their goals.
Excellent. Great points. And Sharmila, want to bring us home on this question?
Sure. I think one of the things, of course, the technology piece has been well covered. But the other thing that I think our students need, particularly adult ed students, is a lot of reassurance. They needed to know that they were going to be supported, no matter whether they were, going to carry on online, or whether we were actually mailing and dropping packets of work for them on their doorstep. They needed to know that no matter where they were or how they were going to learn, that we were going to be able to support them. And that was a big part of retaining our students, assuring them that, hey, you need extra help. Not everybody can learn online. So one of the things that we did do was we offered tutoring services. On Zoom, we offered one-on-one tutoring services to our students. So if they weren't able to follow iPathways, is hard for lower level students. So they were able to actually receive a packet of work at home, and then they would connect with the tutor, and they would go through that together with them. So that was one thing that worked out well for us. And the other need that they had was, of course, when we returned to face-to-face, they needed to know it was going to be safe, that it was going to be clean, and that we were, meeting our protocol requirements, that the classrooms were socially distanced. And so we shared pictures of those things on Facebook and on our website that, you know, we had all the protocols in place to make sure that our students were safe. Of course, we handed out masks and you know, sanitizers. Actually, we just have a supply of those things in our classroom, so they know that they are in a safe environment. So.
Have we lost Sharmila?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you guys lose me?
I did for just a second, but I'll be
Oh,
honest, I'm in rural central Illinois, so.
yeah. Well, I'm in rural Illinois too. So it might have been. Well, what I was saying is they just need to know that they were both physically safe and that they were going to be supported academically, and also that, you know, we were able to meet the resource needs that they had through technology. Those were the three big areas I think our students needed help with to get ready.
Yeah, and then can I add something to Amy?
Yes, absolutely.
So for our students, one of our biggest concerns was that, yeah, you know, there's so many things going on in their lives during this pandemic. And so sometimes, you know, being in the classroom on Zoom may be the last thing on their mind because they don't have food to eat, they can't pay the rent, they can't, you know, those are other things that are added stress to them. And we know we want them to feel that we are being helpful, not just in terms of education. So for us, we actually provide information to the faculty that these are the resources in the community for our students, and also from CLC, because like CLC, we were able to provide financial assistance through you know, through our own foundation money and through our own financial aid, financial assistance money. We were able to provide, you know, like amounts of like $200, $300, so that whatever financial needs the students have, we were able to provide them through our own resources at CLC, or we directed them to our community-based organizations that we know have you know, have like financial assistance to, like Mano a Mano is a Hispanic serving community-based organization that they were able to raise, oh my God, I think over hundreds of thousands of dollars that they were able to distribute to the community, including our students. So that was one way of helping them to be ready for learning so they can focus on learning, is that they know that there are other community resources out there for their other needs.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So really quick, we did have a couple questions. This one was for Arlene. Can you talk more about the text messaging service? And if she could also, or if you could also tell us more about the census tracking. She believes she heard you say you do
Oh
census
yeah,
tracking. Is
yeah.
that true?
Yeah, right. No, the text messaging in the past, the text messaging was a one-way system of communication wherein you just basically send a text blast to students and then you attach a flyer there so that they know when is registration, when is placement testing, who to contact, and what are the programs that are available. But then now through Signal Vine, and there are other newer forms of applications that you can use, and Signal Vine is just one of them. You can communicate to the student directly, and they can communicate directly to you as well. And if you schedule those text blasts, like for us, we send it on a weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly basis, depending on how close we are to registration. So it can include just the regular text as well as attached flyers or attached letters. And then, but the most important thing is you don't stop with the text itself. You actually follow up with phone calls. So that's how we do text blast. The census tract information, you can get that from, of course, the U.S. U.S. Census Bureau, and you have to just identify the census tracts that have, I think it's, in terms of like the data set, I think it's the educational or social characteristics, because if you, census tract information can really be very confusing and you can get lost in all of the data sets there. But if you use, I think, the social characteristics, you will be able to find those census tracts that have a high proportion of their population that has less than a high school diploma. And also the other one is the census tracts that have a high proportion of their population that speak another language at their homes. And once you know those census tracts, there is actually a crosswalk to the postal routes, and that can be time consuming. So you really have to allocate a staff member to actually do that. And you can now identify, you know, because like if you have a budget of only $10,000 for postal routes, you can't send it to your whole Lake County or your whole county. You have to specifically identify the postal routes. And so that's what you will do. So yeah.
Fantastic, Arlene. Thank you very much. And I am going to be conscious of the time because we do only have about 10 minutes left. So if we're going to answer these last two together, and I'm going to start with Marilyn. What strategies have been successful with your instructors regarding instruction, retention, and outcomes? And then also, what support services were you able to implement with your staff, and was it as helpful as you hoped? So if you want to just roll those two together, and just so you have to know I'm a big timekeeper person. So go ahead, Marilyn, let us know your thoughts there.
Okay, yeah. Giving positive feedback to encourage desired behavior is one of the things that our instructors were positive on. And along with that, thinking outside of the box, making Zoom sessions interactive and interesting, and what sort support services were able to implement for your staff?
Yes, for your staff.
So in the beginning, training. We did lots and lots
Yes.
of training. The Zoom call skills for instructors in the beginning was a struggle, but with lots of professional training and creating mentors, a lot of engagement in teamwork, and one thing was good was support of each other, being able to put out our stress factors to each other and to speak amongst each instructor, letting them know, you know, the way they felt and what they experienced through the classrooms.
That is fantastic. And I think that's very true. Just making sure that you're a support system for your staff is so very important. Sharmila, would you like to take those next questions together next? The strategies that you've been successful with your instructors, and then support services that you were able to implement for your staff.
Absolutely. So one of the things we did was, since the teachers were taking on online remote teaching, which is a whole other different area that they were not particularly familiar with, we decided to help them out by reducing their workload. And what we did was we actually took away some of the other responsibilities that they had in terms of keeping records. So instead, we created a database where the teacher could go in and actually put all the information that we needed from them in one place, rather than going into Daisy and putting in attendance and going into our banner system, putting something else in. They were able to put all of that into it. We created a database, a tracking database with each student, and which they were able to then track attendance, what the student was working on, how much time they were allocating to that particular assignment. So we were able to maintain our attendance record. So that really helped them out, and conveyed to them that we were trying to support them and help them out where we could. We also purchased some online resources for our teachers that were helpful, like GED Flash and Play, so they could direct their students to these online resources. We also, we acquired new Reader's Press digital solutions for the lower level, for the ABE level students. And in terms of supporting our teachers, we started having weekly support meetings. Those were absolutely fantastic, because what that allowed them to do was give them a forum to bring up their problems, share ideas, solutions, discuss new resources, complain and commiserate about how things were either going well or not, just issues that they were facing. The teachers actually started looking forward to it, so much so that even when we came back face to face, they have continued with those meetings, because that gives them an ability to talk to their peers and help each other out and share ideas. We're running out of time, so I'm gonna stop right there. There's a lot of other, but the two things that really helped them out tremendously.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Arlene, these last two questions, strategies you have been implemented for successful instructors, and then supportive services for your staff.
Yeah, so for us, we know that a successful student depends on a successful faculty. So we really focus on equipping our faculty with the resources that they need, and also the training that they need and the support that they need. So we actually scheduled like daily meetings with faculty, and they can just drop in for about an hour and a half each day for the first 2 weeks of the semester. They can just drop in and say hello and just support each other. And I give them encouragement, and we troubleshoot for every single problem that they have. We will troubleshoot them right there and then. And then after that, we had another 2 weeks wherein we provided lots of training to faculty. In addition to the training that was already being provided by our college, we had specific content and technology that can be used in adult education. And then just like Sharmila said, we purchase all of the online resources that will help students. So we actually purchased more Burlington English, more TABE Academy, more GED Academy, and then lots of other resources. For the instructors, we made sure that they know that the lessons need to be interactive and useful, that they need to find out what they feel they need to learn, and do assessments so they know how they are personalizing the lessons for the students. We also made sure that our faculty give in-class Zoom and Canvas tutorials to the students to make sure students can participate fully and use the techniques throughout the semester. And then we also inform or teach the instructors that they need to utilize the Zoom features, such as breakout rooms, to ensure interaction. And then also make sure that the faculty knows the Canvas features. And then most importantly, for the post-test, we provide test preparation throughout the semester, modeling the test and working with our enrichment center to utilize programs such as Burlington English and GED Academy and TABE Academy, because those have test preparation modalities, especially for students who just need to make a level gain from just a few points away. And then for staff itself, we try to celebrate birthdays every month and sometimes twice a month. So we get together with my staff so that we all can celebrate our joys and tribulations and all our challenges that we're together.
That is fantastic and such good advice to really be sure that you're focusing on, your team, and that time together is so very important. So as we're wrapping up with these last few minutes, I do have a couple questions that I want to ask. Is there a contact to be shared for the Univision TV programming and radio spots? And if you have that, would you allow us to share that out?
Well, our contact there is a CLC alumni. That's the reason why. But do contact me via email, and we'll see if that would be okay with our contact person. And then if it is, then we'll share that contact with you. Is that
All
okay?
right, so that is okay. So do you hear? Yes, she said it's okay. So we're good to go there. As we wrap up, if you have any additional questions, throw those into the chat. I do want to take a moment to thank our panelists. I want to thank all three of you for joining us today, for answering our questions, for sharing your innovations, for sharing what the real struggles have been within the system, and that, you know, you're working through them, but it hasn't always come easy. And I think that really just does allow us to see how everyone is moving through this together. So thank you all for your time today. And for those of you who are with us now, we are coming back together again next Tuesday, and that's at 11 a.m. So join us again. We will have a whole different set of panelists and answering the same questions. We are asking them the same questions, but it does allow you to learn from your colleagues, hear from your peers, as I like to say. And then if you do check out there in the chat is the link to where the recording is. And if you see that, you'll also will find any recordings that we have regarding recruitment, but this whole series will be posted there as well. So with that, I'm seeing a lot of thank yous and outstanding jobs, and thank you for your time, panelists. So Arlene, Marilyn, Sharmila, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. Those of you who are involved with ICAPS and Transitions Academy, the ICAPS learning community does start in exactly 3 minutes, so that gives you time to head over there. And with that, any closing comments or? All right, hearing none, thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon. It is sunny and not windy today in Central Illinois, so get out there and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure to be here.
Thank you for joining us. We absolutely appreciate it. Thank you.